Hello learners, in the previous videos we've seen about police power doctrine. We've also seen how the same is applied in investment disputes, and in this video we will look at the suitability of police power doctrine in ISTS cases. If we see Methanex and although technically not useful for Chemtura's analysis, still it went ahead and sort of undertook an analysis using police power doctrine by explicitly talking about police power doctrine. So, what we see here is in an instrument, that is NAFTA, which is otherwise silent about asserting the regulatory right of the state, by applying police power doctrine, the tribunal was in a position to assert the regulatory right of the host state, and then consequently it was also decided that there was no necessary for paying compensation as well, right. So that is one sort of an advantage, that even when there was no explicit provision, this is what we called in one of our earlier videos as interpreting the silence, right. Interpreting the silence in the investment agreement, still by applying police power doctrine, there was a possibility of asserting the regulatory right of the host state. One is that. And secondly, if you look at the statement made by Justice Holmes, this statement is made in the context of US domestic legal system, but something that is relevant to our discussion also. Justice Holmes said that government can hardly go on if it keeps paying for any incident to the right to property that happens. So therefore, if at all the government starts paying money for any legitimate regulatory measures that it undertakes, then it can hardly go on. And also, when the government is asked to pay compensation for the adverse economic consequence suffered by the investor, what might happen is, it is internalizing the cost of the regulatory measure. When it had to undertake, when it has to bear a financial burden also, it may act as regulatory chill, that the government may in future will not enact any regulatory measure even for a legitimate public purpose, for the fear of retaliation in an investment arbitration, or worse, it may even sometimes lead to the race to the bottom as well, because it does not want to internalize the cost of legitimate regulatory provision. So in such, we've already discussed these two concepts in detail in the earlier videos, regulatory chill and race to the bottom. So the point that is relevant for this discussion is that when the government is asked to pay money for the adverse effect that has happened to the investment, then the cost of the regulatory measure goes up, and that is borne by the state itself. In such a context, how do we answer the question whether for legitimate regulatory measures should compensation be paid or not paid? Should we apply the police power doctrine? Now, what complicates this question is, if we give emphasis to the weightage of the purpose, if we give emphasis to the purpose of the measure, then in that case we may be biased towards applying police power doctrine. But the matter gets complicated when we look at it from this perspective, that every regulatory measure would be taken for some or the other purpose, right? Just because it is taken for some or the other public purpose, should it be shielded from the question of whether compensation should be paid or not? Vivendi versus Argentina had clearly stated that just because a regulatory measure is taken for a public purpose, per se it cannot be shielded from questioning whether compensation should be paid or not. So therefore, the mere applicability of police power or some other factors have to be considered that muddles the water when the tribunal tries to decide this question. S.T. Myers did try to say that expropriation is something where there is complete deprivation, but whereas regulation is something that has a lesser interference, that may not be true for many cases. There could be substantial deprivation. Take Methanex for instance, there was substantial deprivation. Still Methanex tribunal stated that no compensation to be paid because this is not expropriation. So that there is no straight jacket formula to sort of segregate between what is something a mere regulation and what is something an expropriation, or should police power doctrine be applied and then say that the investor should not be paid any compensation because this was a legitimate regulatory measure. If we look at the pre-BIT era cases, most of those cases, especially the ones relating to expropriation, the question again, the contest between capital exporting countries and capital importing countries was not with regard to whether compensation should be paid or not, but rather the contest was with regard to how much compensation had to be paid. If you recall from the earlier videos, remember the question of Calvo clause, national treatment, and then Hull's formula, prompt, adequate and effective compensation. The contest was only with regard to the quantum of compensation. It was accepted that even in case of a legitimate expropriation, even for the purpose of nationalization, some sort of a compensation would be paid by the host state to the investor. If we take Santa Elena Tribunal explicitly stated that even for environmental expropriation, compensation had to be paid, and in that case, full value of the investment had to be paid, right? So, when the tribunal, there are some tribunals that have clearly stated that even for legitimate public purpose like protecting the environment, compensation had to be paid to the investor. Now, comparing today's ISTS contest with that of the pre-BIT era before BITs were signed, how were the questions decided? It was sort of, it was a given that the compensation had to be paid. Now, this may probably sort of, agree to the position that the sole effect doctrine advocates were making. Why should only investors bear the cost of the host state protecting the environment? Similarly, police power doctrine advocates can also ask, why should the state internalize the cost of protecting the environment by paying compensation to the investors? The investors will get the loss, economic loss that they suffer, right, if the compensation is paid. So that is also there. So ideally, we are talking about the end of two spectrums, that is one sole effect on one side, then police power on the other side. So ideally, what should be the case? Just to give a fair approach to both investors and the host states, then theoretically the possibility lies in some sort of a balancing act to be done between these two conflicting interests. Maybe that was what was done in ECTHR as well. The ECTHR cases, the court clearly said that fair balance had to be struck. So maybe there is a need for a third approach that acts as a balance between these two approaches. So in the next video, we'll be looking at the third approach of the arbitral tribunals, which is popularly called as weighing and balancing approach. So we'll see in that video how do arbitral tribunal examine the question of whether compensation had to be paid in case of a host state enacting a regulatory measure while looking at certain factors. How are these factors balanced? So that is something we'll discuss in the next video.